End the state's war on men and boys. End rape culture myth.
End rape culture myth.
End rape culture myth.
End rape culture myth.
Man and boys and rape culture myth. Thank you. We're here today outside the Crown Prosecution Service. It's Monday the 17th of October and we're protesting against rape culture myth. Now, 3 days ago, on Friday the 14th, I believe, Ched Evans, the footballer, who engaged in consensual threesome with a girl 5 years ago, who was then falsely imprisoned for having consensual sex with this girl for 2.5 years, and was then had his career destroyed by the feminazi press. He's now managed to clear his name. The whole reason why his trial came up in the first place was because of the violence against women and girls policy, which the CPS put into action back, I believe, in 2009 or 10. And Alison Saunders, the head of the CPS, she has ramped up this assault on men and boys, this war on men and boys. The whole purpose of the violence against women and girls policy is to increase the charging rate for men, who are alleged perpetrators of crimes against women and girls, sexual offences or domestic violence. Their whole purpose is to increase the number of cases that come to trial and to increase the number of convictions they get for these alleged crimes. They call all female complainants in these cases victims. They immediately do away with the presumption of innocence for men. They also call all of the cases that come to trial where there's a guilty verdict successful. They have just completely done away with the presumption of innocence for men who go into these situations. And what they have done, they've created an industry of women who are scam artists, who game the system as a way of trying to get innocent men thrown in jail so they can get their hands on victim compensation money. And that's exactly what happened in the Ched Evans case. And this guy, this innocent man, was sent to jail for 2.5 years for a crime he didn't commit. And the whole reason why this happened was because of this evil, vile, violence against women and girls policy, and the way that Alison Saunders has turned the CPS into a radical feminist hate organisation. And we're here to protest against this, because we think it's insidious what has happened to our criminal justice system. We believe that men should have the presumption of innocence. Bring back the presumption of innocence for men. Fire Alison Saunders and repeal the Violence Against Women and Girls Act. Thank you.
Okay, here's the problem when we get ideological feminists holding high positions who look at the world through the feminist lens, and they say that there's a rape culture, and they're pushing to prove that there's a rape culture by arresting more men without using the law as it should be used, by abusing the law and closing the doors on any inquiry towards that. It's wrong. It's the abuse of people. It's the abuse of men and boys. And to say that men and boys are basically predatorial towards women is absolute rubbish. It's hate. We have sexists calling men sexists. And this is wrong. And these women possess great power in their high positions. And they have men around them which are quite happy to go along with it. And then you have individual people, often working class men, who are not articulate, who go into the courts, who don't have the wealth behind them to protect themselves against the allegations. Their families don't have the know-how on how to do this either. This is wrong. Why are we putting up with this from these wealthy, upper class, highly educated people, women mainly women. But there's so many men that were quite happy to go along with it. The chattering classes. They're told by the left wing what is right and what is wrong. What's happened to debate? What's happened to actually questioning things? Oh, that's hate speech, that's right, sorry. Absolute rubbish. It's time that we started to question what's happening here, what's happening to men. It's draconial, and it's only getting worse. And people think they're not going to be affected by it. Well, you will be. Your son or grandson will be. And if you're a mother, your son will be, or your grandson will be. So it's time to start protesting, to start yelling, and start making sure that the media, that we actually start pushing to the media, actually do say something. We have the alternative media on our side. It's time that we got the regular media to start saying something about this as well. Okay, thank you.
I'm here to protest against the unfair treatment by the Crown Prosecution Service of men and boys. I don't believe that we are, as men and boys, treated as equals with women. I think also the idea about the rape myth culture is ridiculous, and it infantilizes women themselves by taking away their agency to decide for themselves whether they want to have a sexual encounter or not. It treats them like children. I think it's degrading to women, and I don't think most women would like that either. And basically, the Crown Prosecution Service, along with the police helpers as well, are targeting men to show that they are pro-women, and they are not. And unfortunately, when it comes down to the subject of feminism, only 7% of women identify as feminists, and which means to say 93% do not. The 7% tend to be the activist ones. They're the ones who get into journalism, they're the ones who get into the social services, and they're the ones who get into places like the Crown Prosecution Service and the legal system. And they do it because they have a passion for harming men wherever they can get away with it, and blaming men for anything that goes wrong in society and in life. Many of the more radical feminists, if you trace their history, have father issues. And I think that goes down to the psychology side of things on that. I don't want to see a Crown prosecution or any legal system that is so biased against any particular group, whether it be a gender, race or otherwise. I believe in fairness, I believe in treating people equally, and not because of their gender and not because of their race, but because they are human beings first and foremost.
We're outside the headquarters of the Crown Prosecution Service, the head of which is the odious, toxic feminist Alison Saunders, Director of Public Prosecutions, and we're supporting the forgotten man in a protest against rape culture myth, which is driving so many men into prisons. We're getting through plenty of leaflets, having plenty of good conversations, and we are taking the fight to the enemy. And there is no doubt that as far as men and boys are concerned, men in particular, Alison Saunders is the enemy.
And I thought, oh.